There's the technical definition and the broader definition, and we'll give you some of both. The CDC has defined domestic violence as what they call intimate partner violence, IPV, which is what the research is done about and all those kinds of things. That is what they call a relationship between two people who share some sort of physical intimacy, whether that's a marriage or just a relationship or a home. Between those two people becomes typically how they define it as physically violent or sexually violent. To the point at which the police might be called, one person needs to exit the relationship or the home. So that's kind of the neat version. In the broader version, domestic violence can happen between a man and a woman and a woman, a man and a man. It does not discriminate in any way by age or gender or religion or anything along those boundaries. So that's the first thing I would say is domestic violence doesn't discriminate. It can happen anywhere. It can happen to people regardless of economic status. We have had several folks in the lower economic brackets and a couple in the higher economic brackets. It can be physical, so hitting, punching, slapping, kicking, burning, any of those things. It can be sexual assault, including rape. Absolutely, rape is certainly used as a weapon of control. But it can also be along the lines of birth control tampering or forced abortions or forced pregnancies. It can go any number of those directions. And then on down the line, there's emotional and psychological violence. There is what we call financial abuse, when one partner withholds money from another partner or access to a job or a car or a savings. We had a family once where the mom explained to us that she was given a very small allowance of food to feed her family for the week, and it just wasn't possible. So her kids' only meals were really at school, and then what they could kind of edge out at home. Then there is also in the modern era digital abuse, which is something that's started to kind of creep to the surface, and that can be something as simple as I took a horrible picture of you and I can use it as blackmail, all the way up to what's become more common is called revenge porn, where a couple is filmed having intercourse and that is kind of saved to send to your employer or to send to your mom or to send to your priest. And so that can be huge and can absolutely damage a person to the point of what we would classify as domestic violence for sure. And so in all of the trainings that I give, I like to say that domestic violence doesn't have a particular definition because abusers are incredibly creative people. They get to know a person and their fears and their weaknesses. And so what looks for abuse, what looks like abuse to this person might be very different from the abuse that that person suffered from. But they are all technically a form of domestic violence, so that we keep the definition broad. In domestic violence, there is a wheel, it's called the power and control wheel. And at the kind of root of domestic violence relationships, that's what it's about. It's about power and it's about control. And so when we bring the ladies into shelter, we can't always give them back their power in the sense of they have to kind of claim that for themselves, but we can absolutely give them the control back. So it's, hey, here's your room, your space while you're here. We're not going to come in it. Put your stuff where you want and take showers when you want. And it can be as simple as some of those things that just help kind of re-engage the independence, which is what needs to kind of happen in order to get your own house, get your own job, get your own car. There has to be that drive of, I am in control, I'm literally in the driver's seat again. And so that's kind of one of the goals of the community living aspect is, you're here, we're here, you don't have to go anywhere else for it. And at the same time, it can be very encouraging when you see a friend that's also in the shelter get a job, and that's, that pushes you to go and get a job. And it's hopefully kind of cyclical in a sense of they encourage one another and they build one another up, and that sense of community drives them together to a higher point. If you feel like you are being affected by one of these situations, whether it's physical or sexual or anything that runs the spectrum, give us a call. The hotline number is 757-251-0144. They also have an online chat option that's now available. If you visit the YWCA of South Hampton Roads website, there's a link there. Get help. We're here to help. You don't have to commit to anything over the phone. It can be as simple as, I'd like to talk to someone about what I'm experiencing, and then we'll take it from there.